Hello, everybody, and welcome to episode 115 of Super Switch Headz, the premier Nintendo podcast on all of the internet. My name is David Howe.
My name is Matthew Stoner.
My name is Patrick Nicely.
And boy, oh boy, we are joined by I don't know why we're giggly already. We are joined by a very special guest this evening. Ladies and gentlemen, give it up for the one, the only Jay Rios joining the podcast. How you doing,
everybody?
Jay?
Good to be here.
Good. It's good to finally have you on the show. I feel like this has been a very long time coming.
Yes. I think so.
Yeah.
At least a few years for sure.
Yeah, absolutely.
We've been talking about having you on for a while, yeah.
Yeah. We didn't get a wrestling show quite in time, and so we decided to put you on this one instead.
I figured that would be my time to shine. Whenever you guys decide to do a wrestling episode,
depending on how this one goes, we'll bring you back for the wrestling.
Fair.
Starting out positive, David. I love it.
Starting out speculative. Jay, you're joining us on the show today because we are doing a whole episode about Miis. That's right. Miitopia came out this past weekend. Some of us have played the demo. Some of us have played the full game. But really, we're just going to be talking about how Miis are back in a big way, or they should be coming back in a big way. We hope they come back in a big way. I'm personally a really big Mii fan. And so we'll be talking all about kind of the history of them, what we'd like to see Nintendo do with them, and just kind of hoping that Nintendo doesn't kill them off. In addition to that, we got lots of news we're going to be talking about. There were something we missed last time on the show. There are new NES and SNES games coming to Nintendo Switch Online. There's some controversy with the upcoming Skyward Sword release, and lots more. We'll be getting into all of it on this show. Nailed the intro. How we doing, guys? We having a good week?
Doing pretty good. We said this before we started recording, but now I can embarrass you, Jay. Jay, I know you through Party World Wrestling, PWR. It's the art that you create. And PWR is you create joy. You create this joyful experience for people. So I just wanted to say thanks.
No, dude, thank you. Like anyone who comes to our shows, thank you. Especially, obviously, after the pandemic, like we miss the fans.
Oh yeah, I bet, man.
And if you're listening to this, like PWR or Party World Wrestling is in Austin. It's a fucking fun ass show. It's so silly. It's so fun.
My pitch is a bunch of theater kids wrestling on acid.
Yeah, that's pretty accurate. Honestly.
But it's good to have you on for sure.
Yeah, no, definitely glad to be here for sure.
Everybody have a good week.
Yeah, I'll go. I'm doing pretty good, all in all. This is my last week of my current job, so I'm like dealing with trying to close out a lot of things, and I'm a little bit stressed about that, but it's good.
No, I feel you, man. Yeah, I got a lot of like fucking logistical stress going on in my life right now too. Kind of like looking for a new place to live, and someone stole my bike the other day too, which was like my only form of transportation. So I'm just like trying to like fix my car and find a new place and get a new bike and not die also, which is every day by eating and drinking and breathing and all that kind of stuff. But that's a struggle. Yeah. Absolutely.
Drink water.
I've got water right here. I take a sip of water. I take a sip of beer. That's the Switch Headz way.
Everyone, if you're listening right now, take a sip of water, take a sip of beer, even if you're a child.
Yeah. Dip the bottle in whiskey or whatever they do to shut kids up. Anyway, that's it. I guess we're all doing well.
Yeah,
pretty good
stuff.
Nailed the intro again.
Real quickly, last week's episode was about strategy guides. We had some wonderful guests who worked in that industry, Adam Dietz and Joe Epstein, and they talked about that. It was just a really wonderful episode. Everybody should go back and check that out if you haven't. We got some good feedback from that. Our friend Michael Kavanaugh said it was his favorite episode of the podcast, and I'm pretty sure he's listened to a lot of them. So thank you for that. Said there was good insight from the guests. It really was. And it sparked some memories from a few of our other community members, Matt Manchester and Vanessa Fernandez in particular, talking about the Austin Arcade Einsteins, which came up in the in the discussion, and also just sort of some general nostalgia about all those old strategy guides, like the Final Fantasy Tactics one, and Matt posted some pictures and stuff. That was really great.
Yeah, I wanted to bring something up because Matt Manchester posted some of those, like I guess it was like a collection of NES games that kind of all shared a strategy guide. I had one of those too. It was the one that like came with the Super Game Boy. I don't know if you guys ever had a Super Game Boy, but it was like it basically just had like little mini strategy guides for like 10 different Game Boy games, and I really, really enjoyed that one. It also had like fun like color codes you could put in to like make the games kind of pop in color and stuff.
I remember that. Yeah, that was one of the best things about that thing for sure.
Oh yeah. You could like write little notes in the margin or whatever. But anyway, this is not a Super Game Boy episode, but
so if you enjoy this episode, we'd love to hear from you. We also love it when our listeners send us questions. We're going to be doing a Q&A episode at some point soon. Leave us a review, share the podcast somewhere online. We appreciate that kind of stuff, and subscribe on YouTube. We are dangerously close to getting to
we're
our
like
goal.
We're like 5 away. I think.
So close.
Okay.
If we reach this goal of just a few more subscribers on YouTube, then David is going to do audiobook versions of his Zelda fan fiction that he wrote when he was in what, 6th grade, David? 7th
fourth
grade?
and fifth.
4th and 5th grade, even better.
Yeah. So that's the peak of human creativity and intelligence. Look at this. Look at this. I've been showing them off for way too many episodes. Come on.
Yeah.
If
5
you're
more
listening,
people.
if you're listening to
5
this and you're not subscribed on YouTube, then then I've got beef. We've got beef right now. Yeah. Go hit that subscribe button. It takes 2 seconds. It's fucking free. Come on.
All right. Now that we've berated you, we'll move on.
Yo, son of a bitch.
We're gonna do the news and rumors for the news and rumors for the week. Like David said, there were some new games announced for the NSO, Nintendo Switch Online service. If you pay the $20 a year, you get the games from the NES and Super Nintendo era. They added 5 more games. For the NES, they added Ninja. I don't know how to say this word. Jajamura-kun, something like that.
Maru-kun. You were close. Yeah.
Never
Which
heard
is
of it.
I mean, that's a Japanese only game. It's in Japanese. It's like one of the, they've been doing that more recently where they'll just be like, let's just throw it on both.
That's fine.
Yeah.
Can't hurt.
Yeah. Let's not scrape the very, very bottom of the American NES library barrel.
For the SNES, we have Caveman Ninja, which is better known as Joe and Mac, to me at least. Magical Drop 2, which is also a Japanese game, right? Or was a Japanese?
Yeah, it's a Japanese game that I think they actually maybe translated for this. I'm not sure. At the point we're recording this, they're not out yet. But yeah, it's a really great puzzle game that has not released in the West. Very much looking forward to playing that one.
Spanky's Quest is great name.
Finally.
for a game.
Is that funny to you, Patrick? You think saying Spankies is funny?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's funny.
It is. Objectively.
And then Super Baseball Simulator, is it 1,000 or how do you? Yes, that's how
it's however you say a batting average, like a perfect batting average, right?
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's some very old baseball knowledge coming through there.
Yeah, I was going to say, clearly I don't play baseball or know much about it. And I think these are coming out on the 26th of May, which is when this episode releases, right? So we haven't had a chance to do this or look at these in depth, but you do, listener.
Yeah, check it out.
I don't know. Is anybody excited about any of these games? The only one that I like have any memory or whatever is Joe and Mac, and that's about it. And I remember those games being
That's what I'm excited. Like I'm generally it's already on there, but like to play it online with someone, I'm like, that's good stuff.
Right. Yeah, and Joe and Mac 2 is on the NSO already, right? And then
correct, which is
like
weird.
The original.
Right.
Yeah.
But they added the second one first.
All right. You got to point out that, this is the 25th anniversary of Super Mario RPG, and it's nowhere to be seen. I think whenever they announced these games, Earthbound trended on Twitter, just because everybody was like, "Where the fuck is Earthbound?" So that's kind of a bummer. You'd wish they. I mean, some of these like Spanky's Quest looks kind of fun, but I'm not gonna probably play Spanky's Quest. Yeah, just being real here. Magical Drop 2, I am legitimately pumped for because I love those kinds of games. But yeah, you were going to say something, Jay?
Oh no, it's just I remember playing Spankies even as a kid. I was just like, nah.
I think it's worth mentioning that Japan got Fire Emblem for the Super Nintendo, which is a real shame. But I mean, it also makes sense as to why they wouldn't release that one on the US collection, because it's not translated and it's a lot of text.
Yeah, unlike maybe Ninja Jajan Marukan-kun, I can't say it. You can maybe get away with that game, but maybe not the Fire Emblem game. Yeah.
So, but I mean, of course you can, if you still want to play it and you like want to just kind of guess at what people are saying, you can just download the Japanese version of the app if you make a Japanese eShop account, which is worth doing.
Early E3 prediction. Anybody want to? Are they going to ever give us Game Boy games or anything else as part of this service? Or are they just going to continue to every 4 months plop out these bottom of the barrel things and not give us Earthbound and the other few remaining good ones? No, nobody knows. Nobody wants to take a guess. Jay?
I don't know. Like, obviously, I love the Switch, and y'all have mentioned this several times, but I just miss the virtual console so much.
Oh yeah,
it was like a weekly thing, right? Or like monthly.
We shop Wednesday.
Yeah, there we go.
Yeah,
like some of the stuff on there is great, but yeah, I just don't get it. Like, there's some clear games that people want, and Nintendo's just like, more baseball. Like, here you go.
You have to think they're like holding that stuff for one reason or another. Like, I don't think Square wants to anything to do with this stuff. I think they want to be able to re-release their own stuff and make money off of it themselves. So we're not going to see, as much as I want to see Super Mario RPG
or like Final Fantasy
or Final Fantasy 6 or Chrono Trigger or whatever. Like, I don't think they're going to release any of that stuff outside of their own collections. I do think though that it's like high time for an addition to this. And I'm really hoping that we see something about that at E3.
Well, moving on, there was an announcement for the Skyward Sword HD game that's coming out in July of an amiibo, new amiibo. This is a Zelda and Loftwing amiibo. So the Loftwing is the bird from the Skyward Sword game.
Oh yeah,
the bird's one of them, and it's a really nice looking amiibo. Let's start there. Visually.
Amiibo have gotten better and better for sure. Like, the early days of Amiibo were rough, but this one looks like a really nice sculpted.
Yeah, you got a 2-for-1. It's not just a Zelda Amiibo or a Loftwing Amiibo. It's Zelda and Loftwing.
That's right.
A very astute observation, Matt.
Oh, Thank you. That's what I'm here for the science.
It's both, if that wasn't clear.
It's both. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
And there was a little bit of controversy, or continues to be, about what this amiibo does. So, the amiibo are in this weird place of like, they're sort of a physical DLC for games, but sometimes it doesn't seem like they do enough to justify the cost. And then sometimes, in this case, it pisses people off that something is locked behind a sometimes hard to find physical, piece of merchandise. To expound, it sounds like you can use this amiibo to move from anywhere in. So I guess you need to know this about Skyward Sword, that there's the like sky world, and then there's the lower world, right?
That's correct.
And you travel between them.
The sky world is kind of like the hub, right?
Yes.
And then you kind of descend to different areas that are pre laid out.
And it's my understanding that this is going to allow you to sort of jump between wherever you are on the ground world back up into what is the name of it? Is it the sky? Why am I saying sky? Skyward.
We just call it the sky.
The sky.
Yeah, over the clouds.
Clouds. Over the rainbow.
Skyloft is the city, but it's like there's more to it than just Skyloft.
And the sky is the area above our heads.
Right. We don't want anybody who's not familiar with these terms to be confused.
For our listeners across the pond, Matt is here to explain what the sky is.
I am here to explain the simple things.
Yeah. I mean, well, let's get in. Let's stop beating around the bush. Like, this is bullshit. I think I understand why people are pissed off because basically this is like a pretty major quality of life feature that they've added into the game that they've
Agreed.
now locked behind. Not only an amiibo, but a $25 amiibo. This is like a more expensive amiibo than normal. And this is the kind of stuff that you just expect with a remaster, right? Is like, and I think the big reason why people are pissed too is that you can actually like fast travel back to the sky from dungeons and like set like a checkpoint essentially in whatever dungeon you're in, and then leave and then come back. And we don't know what other quality of life features they've added into this game as of now, but what we have to assume right now is that this feature is like only available from this amiibo. And I think that's a real shame to lock something like that behind that. I think if any other game publisher did this, people would be really, really pissed off.
Real quickly, whenever Skyward Sword HD was announced, Jay, I think you and I on the Discord were talking about how we both kind of stopped. Like we, and I think this is a common thing about this game, like started it, got to some sort of point, got frustrated and quit. So is this a useful tool? Like, is it really that beneficial in the middle of a dungeon to go back to the sky? You know what I mean? I'm asking David or Matthew if you remember playing through Skyward Sword, like to get more supplies, or Yeah,
well, I think there's that, and I could be wrong. It's been a while since I played it, but I did complete Skyward Sword. I played it all the way through. I really enjoyed Skyward Sword personally. For me, the way that this becomes like super helpful is as a fast travel system for when you're like playing portably. You know what I mean? Like that's a big thing about this.
To save, kind of.
Yeah. It's like basically if you want to like leave a dungeon, you don't want to like be in the dungeon or be stuck in the dungeon, you can like leave, save, whatever you need to do. And like when you're playing portably and you're like out and doing stuff, like having a quick like shutdown or save feature is like super important. Now the interesting thing is this means if you're wanting to do this portably, you're going to have to like bring this amiibo with you wherever you're also bringing your Switch. So it just like really doesn't make sense to me on a
it's
system.
It's a big amiibo too.
System. Yeah, right. It's not something you can fit in your pocket. So I don't know. Maybe this isn't that big of a deal. There are like ample, like in the overworld or areas, there are bird statues you can use to go back up to the sky that are kind of everywhere. You know what I mean? They're not that hard to find, but it's just like, usually they, will have like a power up or something that comes out of an amiibo. And this is like a bigger feature, which kind of sucks.
It's the problem with the amiibo, right? Like, it seems like a lot of them don't do much and make it worthwhile to actually use other than just being pretty statues. And this is kind of a very useful thing. It's like, what do we want out of an amiibo? You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. Like, it's not this, it's not nothing.
I think ideally, I don't know. I have a bunch of amiibos. It's mostly just for like decoration, but like Monster Hunter Rise is a great example. It's like any amiibo you can use. It helps you just like get some extra items or something like that, or something like cosmetic. I just don't like the idea of, like a feature being locked behind an amiibo. It should just be something like purely cosmetic or like an item or something.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, in a way, it is kind of just like physical DLC, and so I don't necessarily have a problem with it. But I think the fact that it's a quality of life feature is where people are getting stuck on it, right?
Yeah,
like,
that's why I think it's bullshit.
Yeah. Sorry, Matthew.
Yeah, it feels easy. Just put this option in a menu.
Yeah. But I mean, they, now that they've said that they're coming out with this thing and it's like the reason to buy it, they can't really do that. You know what I mean? They've kind of worked themselves into a corner.
The thing for me is I wasn't going to buy it anyways, but like if I was on the fence about Skyward Sword, this is the kind of thing that would be like, okay, no. So if I can't find this amiibo, then I can't have this really convenient thing. And history tells us this amiibo is going to be hard to find.
Yeah, that's another really good point. Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Like if there's like a pretty like clutch like quality of life feature in a thing that you have to like fight scalpers to get, then that's a really major problem.
I'm just so surprised by the messaging from Nintendo on this. Is I would think that they would kind of imply that you need it, but not actually need it in the game. But the website specifically says using the Zelda and Loftwing Amiibo while on the surface of the game will allow you to return to the skies, and implying that you need it for this feature. But normally, like I would figure the marketing would just be imply that you need it, but then have the menu be somewhere in the game. So it's kind of a bait and switch situation. But that's an entirely different conversation. That's what I would assume. But it seems fucking weird.
Yeah, it's weird. I think people are also just like kind of pissed off with this because, when this game first came out for the Wii, it was like $70, I think, to get the game with a soundtrack and a Wii Motion Plus golden Wiimote. You know what I mean? And then now it's like the game is $60, I believe, on the Switch.
Yeah.
And then there's, $70 controllers sold separately and this $25 amiibo.
Right.
And it's just like,
If
you're a collector, it's the same game. So far we've seen no big added content. That could change. But like, so I definitely get why people are like, man, come on, you got to do Zelda a little bit better than this. And they historically have in the past, which is why I think people are upset. But people will be upset about anything. But this is probably worth it.
We'll see. It's also weird that, I don't know, 35th anniversary, nothing.
Nothing.
We'll get it. We'll get it. We'll get it.
Will
We'll
we?
get there.
We will. Patrick never thinks we'll celebrate Zelda's life, but I think we will.
While we're talking about Zelda, the Hyrule Warriors Age of Calamity got a little bit of expansion pass news. The DLC for that game is not a physical amiibo. They had a patch to the game where you can now buy the DLC in the game, and they announced what the sort of what the purchase bonus is that you get like right away, which comes out on the 28th of May, and it's like costume. It's like the ancient armor, and that's about all we know, I think, right? Other than that, some stuff's coming in June. Like they've announced some of the characters, some new playable characters, some new campaigns and stuff like that. Is anybody here interested in Hyrule Warriors DLC?
No.
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 Maybe, David, this Hyrule Warriors DLC will boost the numbers.
Yeah, I was going to say, I would probably buy the DLC if one of the costumes was me with a Game Boy Advance SP lodged in my throat. And my attack was just swinging my throat around and hitting people in the head with the Game Boy Advance SP NES edition.
Yeah.
Anyway, we can move on.
Nobody's going to play this. Nobody here, at least.
Hey, if you're playing it, more power to you.
Yeah.
I hear it's a great game.
DCD might play this.
Yeah. Matt, you beat the game, but you don't want to go back to it, right?
No,
you're happy with your experience with it.
I did not unlock 2 of the characters, but I probably won't go back
already. Yeah, that's fair.
I never even beat the game.
Yeah, I kind of just got sidetracked by other things, and I've always thought maybe I'll go back to it, but at this point, I'm not sure that's actually going to happen. So
I knew that was going to happen with me, so I was just like, I'm just going to wait until there's nothing else on my plate.
Yeah, it's a desert island game. Yeah.
Patrick, if there was a DLC that came for Hyrule Warriors Age of Calamity, what character would bring you back to the game?
Nothing, because I didn't even unlock any of all the major ones.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. I think this news story is not for us.
That's true. Also not for us, but the blue Switch Lite is now out. If you've been waiting to pick up a second Switch and you wanted it to be a purplish blue, Jay, you're one of the people who thought it was purple.
I don't know. It's I think it's purple, and then I see a picture of Luigi next to it, and I'm like, it's blue.
It's a little indigo,
yeah.
I guess. Yeah.
Who knows? I did appreciate, I think someone mentioned in the Discord, like Nintendo was actually like, here it is, like next to a GameCube controller, or maybe it was Luigi. I don't know.
Yeah.
But
yeah,
it was good of them.
Yeah.
So that's out. You can probably find it in stores if you're able to. I'm sure that's hard to find just because, I don't know.
Switch Lights are the one thing that are always in stores.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then I'm not really familiar with this game, but Cruisin' Blast, which is the newest game in the Cruisin' USA. Is that what we call the series? The Cruisin' series?
Cruisin' series.
Cruise Anthology.
The Cruisin' Saga.
It's like Vinland Saga.
Cruisin' USA, the racing game, arcade game. There's a 2017 game called Cruisin' Blast that was an arcade game and is now maybe coming to the Switch because there's been some ratings, some console ratings found in the Australian Board of Classification. And because Nintendo owns part of the IP or some percentage of it, right? Y'all correct me on that.
That's right.
The expectation is it would probably come to the Switch, right?
That'd be fun. I'll play this if Bill Clinton is in this one as well.
That's the only way.
Yeah. Yeah. You guys know Bill Clinton in Cruising USA, right?
He's in it.
Yeah,
at
the very end, like if you win and you get like first place on everything in the hardest difficulty, you're like go to the moon, and like Bill Clinton is in a hot tub with a bunch of like chicks in bikinis, and like
that sounds right.
Yeah,
it sounds.
And he's like, you did a great job, bud, or whatever.
David, you should talk about this next one. I don't know a lot about it. About is it developer Free Radicals?
Yeah. So I don't know how many of you are familiar with the game series Time Splitters, but basically that was made by a bunch of ex-Rare employees. It was kind of like a PlayStation 2 GameCube era game. Time Splitters 1, Time Splitters 2, and then Time Splitters Future Perfect, I believe the game was called. And basically it was kind of like a spiritual successor to GoldenEye and Perfect Dark and games like that. Really fun, like time hopping first person shooter game. And there were recently, the IP was recently bought up by a parent company. I'm actually kind of blanking on the name right now, and I did put it in the notes. But anyway, they've announced that Free Radicals is reforming, and they will be making a new Time Splitters game, which is exciting, but also funny because they just announced that they're like reforming the studio, which means this game is probably like at least 4 years away. But either way, if you're a fan of like GoldenEye and Perfect Dark and games like that, the Time Splitters games will be right up your alley if you haven't played them. And this is really good news. It's just nice to see the band getting back together, as it were.
Yeah, I'm actually pretty excited about this one. I spent way too much time on Future Perfect back in the day. And yeah, I'm not normally like a first person shooter guy, but like Time Splitters was like so good.
Yeah,
but I remember
really funny
that they were bringing back the first one. It was like a complete fan made thing, and it's been like a few years now. I don't know if that's ever going to happen.
I don't think it ever materialized. Yeah,
there was some Time Splitters news back in April when a full version of Time Splitters 2 was found in the game Homefront: The Revolution, where you can like input a code and play the full version of Time Splitters 2.
That's wild. Yeah. That's a waste of space on the disc.
I've never heard of that.
But it's cool. Anyway, there's not much to it other than this is happening. Hopefully they like maybe re-release Future Perfect or something like that in the meantime to gauge interest. But it's just cool to see the band getting back.
That means Pierce Brosnan coming to Smash.
Finally.
So the day we're recording this is my understanding that is the closing arguments are being made in the Apple versus Epic case, the lawsuit that's been happening, this mega lawsuit that's been taking place over several weeks and apparently hundreds of witnesses, the last of which was Tim Cook, I understand.
Tim Apple.
Tim Cook Apple. Mr. Apple.
You guys remember that fucking 4-year-long fever dream we had where we had a dude, who's the most powerful guy in the world, saying stupid shit like that?
Oh my God.
Remember.
It's like a far distant memory. Anyway.
I don't remember his name at all.
Anyway, so I don't know. This is like a bench trial, I believe. So the judge will probably be making some sort of ruling soon. Maybe, hopefully, we'll see what happens out of this big lawsuit. Did we talk about the redacted stuff that Nintendo redacted from the Microsoft report last episode? If not, we should talk about that now.
Yeah, I don't think we did. We've only covered kind of the high level stuff of the Epic versus Apple stuff, but never what's been shown or revealed over the past couple of weeks. But feel free, David.
Yeah, well, basically, the spark notes of it, like this is like the most Nintendo specific news, other than the Samus stuff. That was, the Samus and Fortnite, kind of speculation. But one of the main things that's notable for Nintendo fans is there was one of the things that was kind of shown or was made public was documentation from Microsoft in them talking about getting Game Pass onto as many platforms as possible. And it was mainly in them talking about trying to get it onto iOS and the reasons that Apple was holding out. That's what was kind of relevant to the Fortnite on iOS section of the trial. What's interesting about that is that Nintendo specifically went in and redacted huge parts of that public record. So like that made people obviously speculate heavily on like, was this Microsoft trying to make deals to get xCloud or Game Pass on Switch, right? As one of the platforms that they're trying to proliferate onto. There's been a lot of rumors, obviously, about Microsoft and Nintendo working on stuff together. And I think that, that obviously just adds fuel to the fire. Like, why else would they redact like full pages worth of information in this part specifically about getting it out there? I'd love to hear an announcement soon. I'd love to see them walk out on the same stage at E3. Like there's going to be stages at E3 this year. But yeah, anyway, that was the most Nintendo specific stuff. It's pretty juicy, interesting details.
Yeah. Kind of building off what you said, David, Microsoft and Nintendo appeared in some of the litigation notes, the trial notes, in the same sentence, and the part that was redacted were any details about Microsoft and Nintendo, what their deal was.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah, I would circling back to this trial overall. I mean, holistically, it's about should Apple open up their user base to other apps or app stores. And it could impact Nintendo and Sony and Xbox and all of the other closed system app stores. I think it's got huge implications depending on what happens. We'll see.
I think ultimately everybody in the gaming industry resents this whole trial. You know what I mean? And resents Epic for drawing it out a lot. I think Epic kind of broke a lot of goodwill with a lot of game publishers and big platforms, just because all their fucking trade secrets have just been out on display for the public to see, and not even leaked emails. It's publicly released emails that were always meant to be private. So I think all in all, this has been kind of a stain for a lot of people. I mean, it's been great for fans who want to comb through juicy details, but I mean, we'll see what happens, but I can't imagine Microsoft is happy with having all this information out there at the behest of Epic. So yeah,
and I
think some relationships have been soured from this.
That's what Apple has to do. Apple has to defend why do they not want to give open up their operating system to their app stores, and then they have to ask what's Microsoft doing, what's Nintendo doing, what's Sony doing, and that invites all these other companies to the litigation. At probably direct fault of Epic, or at least there's the one who started the fight outside.
Yeah, they're the ones that totally started this. Yeah.
Didn't they send out? I feel like this may have happened right before the trial. They sent out these gift boxes or something that was hey, you may have heard we're not an Apple anymore, but we still love you guys.
Yeah, it was worse than that. It was even painting themselves as the underdog and hey. I can't remember if it was 1984 or some sort of major reference that they were using to be
they parodied
stand up to Big Brother. Or
there
something
we go.
Like that.
They parodied the Ridley Scott Apple 1984 commercial. Yeah, but in Fortnite. That's so dumb. That's really cringy.
It's it felt really like they were weaponizing their user base. Yeah.
Yeah. And all their user base are kids that do not know that reference. Yeah.
Moving on then into our last news item. This is one's kind of been developing today over the course of the day. So this may change by the time this comes out. But Alex Donaldson, who writes for VG 24/7, a video game blog, posted a tweet that's caused a lot of speculation and it's kind of interesting. They're suggesting that there's a publisher, a major publisher, they say, that there's a big leak kind of happening behind the scenes that is event based. So it kind of implies maybe some sort of E3 stream or something that's planned is leaking, and it's not just the information, it's actually the footage and that kind of stuff. That maybe some, there's some other insiders kind of commenting on this tweet as well that makes you think that this is going around between, people that get these leaks at least. There's a lot of speculation about what this is. There's also been maybe related. So some people are saying maybe this is Square. I'm just doing a quick summary. Y'all jump in anytime you want. A new Final Fantasy game that's also kind of being leaked right now that might be announced at E3.
Yeah.
An action Final Fantasy game. So maybe it's Square that.
What I've been hearing is that Square's E3 presentation is going to be off the chain this E3. And yeah, apparently there's like a Final Fantasy game in the works that's like Final Fantasy cross Dark Souls, something kind of like that, like action based, taking the Final Fantasy franchise into like a new kind of area. So that's exciting. Matt, you posted this in our group, right?
Yeah. I think what's going on is like no one knows what it is, but people speculate it's probably or could be Nintendo and Nintendo or Square.
Mm-hmm.
And that other, well-known leakers, including, Alex Donaldson, are saying that this is true, and it could be the entire slide presentation from these companies, like all of the assets, all of the media, all of the slides, and all of that.
Do you think that this is like what happens with a digital-only E3, or like everybody working from home? Is this just like why hasn't this happened to this degree before?
Wasn't it E3 that leaked out everyone's prior information? It's that same intern.
They got sent the Square presentation and they were like, "Oh,
yeah." Like, hey, you want to know how you tank views for E3? Just release the whole thing early on Vimeo.
Yeah. So it's the end of May. We've got to wait another couple of weeks till E3. Let's hope that it doesn't all leak. As much as we love to talk about leaks and rumors, it's also, I think we can all agree, man, I hope that this is the most we hear about it until the event, But
if we do hear more about it, you'll hear it here first.
That's true. That's true. Anything else on this before we call it and talk about Miis? Y'all, any other thoughts on this big event leak or anything else?
Oh, I heard that they'd be leaking Miis. There's your segue, Patrick.
All right, then that does it for this week's news and rumors section. We'll take a very short break, and when we come back, we'll be talking all about Miis. All right, and we are back. This week, we are talking all about Miis. Nintendo released Mii Miitopia for the Switch just this past Friday, May 21st, I believe it was. And originally a game that came out on the 3DS back in 2017. Not that long ago, actually. But Nintendo's been using Miis since the Wii era. And actually, there's been some prototypes before that we'll get into. So we thought we'd just take this week to kind of do a Mii appreciation and talk about the past of what's happened with Miis and the current state of Miis, and maybe speculate about what Nintendo might do based on what we're seeing right now with Miis, because they do seem to be kind of coming back after initially in the Switch era, it seemed like they weren't going to use them.
Right.
Yeah. So I have actually not watched this, though. David, you posted a like summary kind of that Nintendo Life did of a GDC talk that Miyamoto did back in 2007 on Miis and sort of their development history. GDC, Game Developers Conference, where there are often these talks where developers explain things, and they're really cool. And there's a lot of them are on YouTube. People go check that out. But
yeah, it's really nice when Nintendo does those talks too, because it's a little peek behind the curtain that you don't usually get to see.
That's true. Nintendo is very secretive. So I don't like, I'm not an expert on this history. So y'all, I know Matthew, you've added some stuff here to the notes. Y'all jump in and correct me, but I understand that Miyamoto's actually had a Mii-like idea as far back as the Famicom disk system, which is something that did not come out here in the States, but like an add-on. We've talked about this actually recently because of the Famicom Detective Club games were for that add-on. An add-on for the Famicom or the NES here in the States is so, presumably in the late 80s, maybe early 90s, he was already kind of working on some sort of Mii idea. And it sounds like it kind of kept running into problems at Nintendo of like, yeah, but what do we do with that?
Right.
Like you can create your own little avatar character, but then what? And they never really, like he kept trying to do it. Yeah. I'm sure there was some steps in between this, but I know they also tried to do it for like another add-on system, which is dumb, like the N64DD, which also did not come out here.
Right. Yeah, that was like really the first time that they really actually incorporated this. It was Mario Artist Talent Studio. There were a few like Mario Artist games for the 64DD. They also had like an N64 mouse that you could use with this. It was very much like a spiritual successor to Mario Paint that only ever released in Japan. But it had a pretty robust like character creation system that was definitely kind of the prototype for Miis. And of course, that flopped in Japan, and so they never even released it here in the US. But it was a pretty like cool idea. And it was, again, just like Miyamoto, like not letting this idea go until it eventually became a staple of the Wii era.
And it sounds like that was sort of the idea with that was you could make your own little short movies with your little character. And that wasn't maybe enough. And then it kind of had a successor on the GameCube, right? Something called Stage Debut, which did that also not come out in the West?
Yeah, that was also Japan only. All of these ideas eventually kind of did come to the West in Tomodachi Life. Like that game for the 3DS was very much like what they were trying to do back then, with kind of putting your friends in the game and just like having social interactions and stuff with them and making little videos and movies out of it. Like that's kind of what Tomodachi Life eventually was, which was a really great showcase for Miis as well.
Yeah, Miis is just a form of like taking a complex idea and simplifying it over time during iterations. Yeah. Because like Patrick and David, you said, like, so what? You create a face, and then what? Like, what do you do with it? And in going back to like the Mario Artist Talent Studio for the 64DD, like it had a whole bunch of eyes. You could have like anime eyes or comic book eyes or like realistic looking eyes, and it's I always say it's the Denny's dilemma. There's so many options, so many choices. I'm going to bring up Denny's every time we have multiple options. But you take this huge, complex idea of like recreating someone's face, but then with Miis, it's such a simple concept. You take all of these options and simplify them to like the main, 15 or 20 components and allow more creations out of these simple things. And I think Mii is just one example of the complex to simple process.
That's true. I think that's maybe jumping ahead, but I want to just agree with you that like what's so wonderful about Miis is how simple they are and how similar they all are. But then within that limited options, people have been able to make amazing things and it's always striking when you see somebody's Mii and you're like, damn, that really looks like them.
Yeah. You know what I mean? Like my fucking Mii.
I was about to say, more than anyone in my entire life, no one has nailed down their Mii as much as David just nailed it down. It's so pleasing to see your Mii on my screen.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I'm very proud of my Mii. And it was like, my Mii is something that I just like spent a shit ton of time on, like in 2006 or whenever the Wii came out. And I was like, damn, I nailed it. And like all my friends were like, man, that looks exactly like you. And I was like, goddamn right. And then now this is definitely jumping ahead, but like something that a lot of people don't know as a functionality of Amiibo, of any Amiibo, is that every Amiibo has the ability to store a Mii on it, like Mii data, essentially. So what I've been able to do is basically transfer my Wii to my Wii U, and then I like from my Wii U copied my Mii onto an Amiibo, which I then was able to like bring to my Switch and also to my 3DS. So like my Mii has followed me around for like every Nintendo console since Mii's came out, basically, right? And that's why I was like, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. I'm not going to try to recreate that. I'm not going to be able to recreate that Mii with the perfection that I did the first time. And that's why I don't change my look ever.
You want your Mii to remain accurate.
Exactly.
Yeah,
exactly.
That makes sense.
Jumping back to the sort of brief overview and timeline here, then
let's talk more about My Mii.
It sounds like a separate development team at Nintendo had started working on sort of a character creation tool that then ended up becoming the Miis that, Miyamoto then kind of like jumped in on and helped out with. And they were working on this for the DS, but I guess it ended up really coming out with the Wii, and that's where they found a place for it to fit in with Wii Sports. I guess the people who were making Wii Sports were trying to think of like what characters should be, what the look and feel of the game should be, and those things kind of got married there.
Yeah, I think this is I think internal corporate structure is interesting to me, but how inspiration happens and where it occurs and how that inspires other things. Like, the dev team that you're talking about, Patrick, they were inspired by the Kokeshi dolls, which are like the Japanese dolls. They're very simple. They don't have any arms or legs. You can see that represented in Miis today.
Yeah.
But they created this prototype for DS, and this team was the team that created games like Rhythm Heaven. And Miyamoto was so impressed by their prototype and their recreations of all of these, Nintendo executives at the time, Iwata, Miyamoto, and Yoshi Sakamoto, if I said that right. They were so impressed that they moved them from software planning and development, the Rhythm Heaven team, to the analysis and development teams, which own Zelda and Mario game development. So Miyamoto thought this was such a good idea and had huge application that they moved him from Rhythm Heaven team to these big flagship title team.
Yeah. And it makes sense that this really took off, or they really started doing all this work on the Wii, because the Wii is like very much a system that was like meant for a more casual audience, for a bunch of non-gamers, right? So like, I think any part of a game that like non-gamers will always spend the most time doing is like in the character creation menu, right? Like, because that's just like something that's fun. Yes. It's easy to do. And then it's just really satisfying when you make something that looks like fucking Goofy, or something that looks exactly like you, right? And something that you were just touching on is like, Matt, is like, you can make like really striking resemblances to pretty much anybody in the world, like with the limited like tile sets that are available for like all the different eyebrows, different noses. They've just figured out the right amount of combinations throughout the years to where you can pretty much make, like, I feel like if you spend enough time, you can like really make your Mii look like the person that you're trying to make it look like.
This is moving up a little bit, but talking about Miitopia, currently in my quest is Obama, Knuckles from Sonic, and RoboCop.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. I'm really glad you brought that up. I'll touch on it later, but yeah. Who did I pick? I just remember picking, like, I got Dr. Phil Mayer is the mayor of my town.
Okay.
And then I think like my best friend is Bob Ross. It's pretty interesting what you can do here.
Yeah. And I think it's just fun. It's like they made it fun. Like I remember like spending just hours like on one Mii, just like getting it exactly right. And even when you're just like making a character that is not a real character, just like coming up with like an interesting personality for a Mii, I find to be really fascinating. Like I've got some characters on my Switch when I just was like super like high one day, like just like fucking around in the Mii creator that's like buried in the Wii system menu. Like it's definitely not on display like it was on the Wii and Wii U, but like just making some characters that then like occasionally will just pop up in games. I can race as them in Mario Kart, or I can play as them in Miitopia. And it's a blast. If you're not just downloading like Hank Hill's or Louis C.K.'s like off the internet, well, maybe not these days. Yeah, it's mostly Hank Hill's. Yeah, it's just fun. It's just fun to make, and I think they made it really satisfying.
Yeah, I like you said, character creation tools are always fun, but I do think the Miis is well done. Mm-hmm. And I think the focus on the face, you know what I mean? Like you can have, pick how tall or how, for lack of a better word, like how big, I don't know, how fat, skinny,
how thick, THIC.
That's a better word. How thick you are, but you can't really, pick out clothes or whatever. And so it does kind of direct you to making a really striking face, which is a big part of human, experience of knowing people and recognizing people anyway. So
the face is the window to the body.
So true. Yeah. But I like that a lot though, because it kind of makes me think of like, I don't know, Skyrim or Fallout, where it's like, all right, this left wrinkle has to be like right here. I need to get this dimple over here. But they kind of replace that with like, okay, I can like pick this weird nose and then this left eye. Like there's a lot more layers to it, I think, than you would initially think just like looking at a Mii.
Yeah.
Which is really cool. It's a very cool thing about it.
Sorry, go ahead, Patrick.
I was just gonna say, and if you want, you can just slap eyes, nose, mouth, whatever. But like David, you're kind of hinting at, if you want to take the time, you can really mess with the spacing and all that. And so I think like a kid can make a Mii and they're like, look, it's me. And then a grown up can like spend an hour and be like, damn, that is me. Kind of, you know what I mean?
Yeah, totally. Yeah, and something I was going to say too, this is another instance in which like the other companies really tried to copy Nintendo after the success of the Wii, like Xbox 360 introduced avatars and they just like weren't nearly as good. They all looked exactly the same. I could never like on my Xbox Series S right now, like there's like an even like beefed up avatar system where you can like, do more stuff. Yeah, but it's like I can't make that thing look like me. Like it just can't get it right. Like there's, especially because they tried to make them 3D in a way that the Miis aren't really. Miis are really like a 2D image just slapped on a circle or like a sphere. You know what I mean? And they really tried to like make them like more next gen, I guess, like when Xbox was trying to do it, and it just took away that simplicity that like led to the combination of options to really make pretty much anything. So yeah, I think it's still to this day unmatched.
And we should talk kind of like going through the history of this too, going back to it. The joy was obviously if you just made it and then never did anything with it, then we wouldn't be talking about it right now. It wouldn't have stuck around, but they had these Wii games where, you could insert yourself and your friends into these games. The Wii Sports obviously is the big one, but there were a handful of other titles at the time. And that goes hand in hand with this, not just being a cool tool, but actually having this use and finding a good use for it. Anybody want to share any thoughts or memories of Wii Sports or that era or playing these games?
I have a distinct memory of getting my Wii during a holiday break in college. And everyone's excited to play bowling. And I'm like, wait. Let me recreate your character. And it took like, I don't know, like a good 2-3 hours before we even started playing the game. Because everyone wanted to be like, no, move that mole or put different facial hair or move your eyes up or down and move your nose. We just spent so much time creating, there were 4 people there at the time, like creating all of their likenesses. And then we finally got to the game.
Right, and it's like 2 a.m.
Exactly.
Like, let's just go to bed
tomorrow. Yeah.
That was kind of I had a very similar experience. Because funny, and I'm going to tie wrestling into this again. Sorry.
Oh yeah. That's why you're on the show.
Exactly. Creating wrestlers my favorite thing. So I think that really translated easily to like the Mii thing, and kind of similar to what you're saying, Matthew. When I was pretty much the only one of my friends that got a Wii because I was the only one that wanted one. I think oddly enough, my friends came to video games later. Same thing. They're like, let's play tennis, let's play bowling. It's like, no.
Yeah.
Let's create each other, and then it'll be like we're doing these sports in real life. And they're like, that sounds stupid, blah, blah. But then like you go a few rounds like boxing each other and golfing each other. It's just it adds a new level to it rather than just like, all right, let's play as these random characters.
Yeah. And then just having just whatever Miis were on your system just like randomly pop up in the crowds or whatever. Like if you would just you'd be playing with like somebody and you're like, oh, well, there's Hank Hill watching us play tennis. Like it's just funny. Like it just never didn't make me laugh. Like I always got a kick out of it. It's like such a stupid basic thing that just always made me laugh really hard. Wii Sports Resort was a really good addition to that as well, the kind of sequel to Wii Sports, because they would put your characters' faces on like billboards or like flying by on planes, or they would just be everywhere, right? They would sneak them in wherever they can. And that just was always very humorous to me. A really, really good way, and it's the game that everybody had. If you had a Wii, it's like the highest selling game of all time because it was a back-end game.
It really did solve that question that they were struggling with in the early days of like how to use these avatars, right? And it's kind of like what you were saying, Jay. It's like it made it so it's not just you're playing tennis, and we've talked about how people already identify really well with video game characters since you control them. But when you also can design them and they look like you, and that's the point, you know what I mean? Then you really it's like I'm really beating my friend in the game, both literally and figuratively or whatever. So it really worked. It just did. And unless there's anything else about that specific area I want to talk about, I mean, with the 3DS and the Wii U, they continued, right? And I mean, and then there was Miitomo, which I know I don't have any experience with this. There's like a mobile game, right?
I've got thoughts about Miitomo, man.
Me too.
Miitomo was the fucking shit. I loved Miitomo. I think we were friends on Miitomo, Jay. I'm pretty sure. Yeah. For sure. If you're not familiar with what Miitomo was, it was Nintendo's first foray into mobile games. It was their first ever mobile app before they ever did Super Mario Run or anything like that. And it was basically a messaging or like question and answers app. It basically was just you brought your Mii into the game, right? And it was you, right? And then you would befriend your friends who also had their Miis on. And then you would like basically answer questions. And then all you would do is like see your friends' answers to questions. Mm-hmm. And they would like speak with these really strange robotic voices. And like, it was just like a very strange, like social network or like messaging app that was just like oozing charm and like Nintendo polish. I loved that thing so much.
That's cool. But then how long did that last? Do you know?
It was around like 2 or 3 years, I think, maybe. Yeah, they pulled the plug a couple years ago. That was a really sad day. One of my favorite things you could do is like basically take photos and then just like put your Mii doing like really silly poses into like real life photos. Did that all the time. Yeah, that was a cool game to like flirt in also.
Okay.
Yeah. Because you're like, it was like, I don't know, I'll cut that out. But
well, you could all, I mean, to that point,
I could see it.
Yeah, let's do it, dude. Let's
it was like, because it's like, hey, it's like my Mii's flirting with your Mii, like it's just like, it was like a very like chill way to like not have to like look someone in the eye and like actually have a real conversation. You know what I mean?
All right.
Like still
hit up those comments here. The top 10 line openers for Miitomo.
Yeah. You slide in the Miitomo DMs. Yeah.
Oh my God.
Well, we kind of maybe glossed over some stuff, but I think that brings us to the Switch era, unless there's anything somebody wants to jump in and say before we get here, where, like you said, David, they kind of buried the Miis, especially at first. It really felt like, it's not front and center. You can have it as your avatar or your profile image on the Switch, but there's also other options. And Mario Kart 8 Deluxe has Miis in it, but that's a Wii U game, so it felt like, oh, that's why it has it in it. At least initially it did
to an
to
extent.
Me.
Yeah, I mean, Miis have been in Mario Kart since Mario Kart Wii. But I think the one thing that people kind of don't realize with the Mii characters, and the reason why I always play as my Mii in Mario Kart, is that it becomes a different kind of racer depending on the size of the Mii that you've created. So like if you create like a big fat Mii who's like really tall, he'll be in the heavyweight class. Oh, right. Yeah, and if you create like a really short Mii, it'll be like a Toad style racer who's really fast. So it was like you could basically like create your own weight class of character in Mario Kart, and that carried over from Mario Kart Wii to Mario Kart 7 to Mario Kart 8. And that's why I always play as my Mii. It's just like he's a heavy weight class because he's like tall, and I've got like exactly the right bike that I use with him every single time, and it just made me be able to like granularly pick like who I wanted to do. And I think that stuff is in a lot of games as well. Like like a lot of the Mario sports games that include Miis like also take that into effect, which I find really interesting.
So at least to me, it felt like Nintendo was trying to move away from the Miis, but keeping them around because they had to for a couple of reasons early on in the Switch era, like because that was a game that featured them. I don't really know of any other ones other than Smash Ultimate did.
I was going to say Smash was the only other one. Yeah.
And it also felt like they had it for legacy reasons of everyone is here. You know what I mean? Maybe looking back, we can say that's not the case. You know what I mean? But
I mean, I think that
it felt that way.
I think if anything, Miis in Smash Ultimate are like the Smash 4 representation in Smash. You know what I mean? Because like Smash 4 was all about every single character has customizable moves. You know what I mean? And they took that away in Ultimate, but they kept it for the Mii characters, right? And then they also, you know, it was a way, you know, to play as Bomberman or like any of these other things where they come out with the costumes for characters they would never have the time to like spend to create individual characters for. They could like give them to the Miis. And that was like a decent kind of middle ground for that, you know?
And, you know, any of y'all or listener, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think those are the only games that featured Miis up until now, you know, until Miitopia. It feels that way. If there's something else out there,
can you not play as your Mii in Mario Tennis?
No.
Oh, I thought you could.
What about in like Mario Bros. Deluxe?
No, you can't in that. That would be fucking lit though.
Awesome.
See, that's what I'm saying. It's like I wish Miis were still in everything. You know what I mean? I think playing as whoever you want is fucking hilarious in every game.
I'm surprised
and it's like
it's not in Mario Party. That seems like the one to like put it in.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And I mean, well, you know, back in the Wii U, you know, there was like or on the Wii, there was like Wii Party and like Wii Party Wii Party U and like all that stuff where they were and Nintendo Land where you would play as the Miis and stuff like that. And I understand like for a while they were getting away from it, but it's just like odd now that they're coming back, you know, that like Miitopia is coming back, which is using the Switch's Mii creator, right?
Yeah.
And then to like import stuff that you already have on your system, and then them being in Mario Golf is amazing, right?
We'll get into the speculation, right? But yeah, so we're at this point now where Miitopia comes out, and then, you know, I think it's simultaneously when they announced Miitopia, they showed off Mario Golf Super Rush and whatever that direct was. Both I could be wrong, but I think they were in the same announcement where it felt like, oh, you know, that was striking because Miis are in both of those games. And then now we know there's this updated makeup and wigs element for Miis and Miitopia where people have been able to make even more I don't know what's the word I'm looking for.
Striking resemblances.
Yeah, it's even better tools to make your Mii. So this is a good chance for us to just talk about maybe Miitopia, and then we can talk about speculation for future of Miis after this. But Miis are huge in my house right now because we've been playing this game, and my kid is loving it. And he's been like doing what you said, David. He's been going on the Switch and just making Miis.
Right.
That then we use to populate characters, and he's been drawing Miis with by pen and paper, and like he's talking about Miis to me all the time now.
That's
like,
amazing.
And it's cute. Like, this is the Switch era, and you know, like, he missed out on this, but he's not really now, apparently, you know.
Right.
And Miitopia is a great use of Miis, I think. You know, like for the same reason you were talking about, David, where you you see somebody in the crowd, and this one you can cast them as some sort of minor side character. And that's just a lot of fun to do and then share with those people. Like we've been putting all our family in it because it's my kid, and that's, you know, his connection, some of his friends and stuff like that.
Oh yeah.
And then we send it to people, you know, like I just sent one to my brother of like, he made my brother be like a crotchety person or something. You know what I mean? Like,
it's just fucking hilarious and awesome.
It's so fun.
Like watching them run around and like do weird moves is just fucking satisfying and funny. Like I can't explain it.
It really is. I'll be honest. I wouldn't have touched the demo if I wasn't going to be on this episode, because I was just like, I like Miis, but I just wasn't really interested in it. And I played it, and I'll admit it's not something that like grabbed me, but it's something that like kind of like rejuvenated my love for Miis.
Yes,
way.
Totally.
Yeah. No, it's really cool. And like, and I think the 3DS was like full of shit like this, right? Like the 3DS had this game. It had like all these like the real deal.
Pass.
Yeah, it had Street Pass, and Street Pass was amazing. Like taking your 3DS with you to events, like gaming events, where you knew there'd be a lot of other 3DSs, and you just have all these different people showing up on your 3DS, and like it was kind of like getting to know them in a way, right? And then obviously Miiverse too is something that we don't have on the notes here, but like Miiverse was an incredible, like I loved Miiverse so much because I'm not the kind of guy that necessarily wants to like inundate all my Facebook friends with like, screenshots of like fucking whatever game I'm playing, which is why I made the Switch Headz Facebook group in the first place. Is to like have a place where I could put all that shit, so I'm not just like inundating normies with all that stuff, right? But like Miiverse was that already. It was just like built in, and that made great use of your Miis, and it was a really good way to find people to play with.
Yeah, to echo the things that y'all are saying is like it's so fun to put these silly characters into this game. It's like the evolution of like changing a character name on Nintendo or Super Nintendo RPGs. Like changing Chrono's character name and Chrono Trigger to like My Balls.
Yeah,
or something.
Classic.
Always funny.
Yeah,
yes.
and just like having
or My Dude.
Yeah, yeah, my dude or
hey,
my dudes. Yeah. Just that silly fun, like that kind of modification. And like I remember like the first time that I saw a Skyrim mod where you replace all the dragons with Macho Man Randy Savage.
Yeah,
like it's just so silly and fun. I love playing Miitopia when I'm traveling with RoboCop. It's so fun. It's so silly.
Yeah, it really encourages you to like be kind of silly about it and have fun in that way, and it's got a lot of good Nintendo charm. And for me playing it with like my 6-year-old kid, it's a really great kid game. Like it's not to say that an adult can't enjoy this game, because you totally can, and I'm enjoying playing it with them. But if you're looking for an RPG experience, it's not what you only.
It's a very streamlined RPG experience.
You can only control one of the 4 characters in your party, and even then, like your options are pretty limited and that kind of thing. And it's not very challenging and yada
it's
yada.
It's essentially level based too. It's like you're just kind of going from area to area to area.
Very linear. Totally linear. I mean, there's some choice in where you go, but like it's very, very bare bones RPG. But that works really great for somebody who's 6 to 10 or whatever,
It's Ring Fit Adventure without the exercise.
It kind of is. Yeah.
It is. Oh, that's a really good description. And I'm kind of glad you mentioned that, Patrick, because I was playing that today and I was thinking like, if I had a kid and I wanted to get them into RPGs, this would be perfect.
Yes.
Because like I remember my first system was Super Nintendo, and trying to play RPGs, couldn't get it. Super Mario RPG was like what made it click for me, because I think that was like, I don't know, easy enough to read or whatever. And I think this, like, I don't know. I think it's going to be kind of cool if this like ends up making like tons of RPG fans in the future just from playing Miitopia.
I think so. And just to continue that sort of kid thing too, like playing it with, it's kind of like watching a Pixar movie with your kid or something, where like there are these jokes that are for you, and then a lot of it's for the kid, because there are a lot of RPG trope jokes in it too, that there's no way a 6 to 10-year-old would get, but like I get those, and even and there's a lot of like, this is a really dorky dad gamer moment, right, where you're like, oh, I'm explaining RPG mechanics to him, you know what I mean, like, you're doing this, and then in a regular RPG this would happen, but this is an easier, simple, you know what I mean? I'm like, it's a great intro RPG game to play.
Yeah, I explain that stuff to my cat.
How does that go?
He doesn't care.
I think it's just nice that there's a joyful game like this. RPGs are so serious sometimes.
World's ending.
You have to kill God.
No matter what.
A meteor is coming towards the Earth, and there's big old companies sucking up the resources.
Yeah.
To be fair, the story here would be really daunting if you were like to give this storyline to like a square or something.
Yeah,
Everyone's
that's true.
Face is
disappear, you know. But like with the Miis, it's like, oh, it's kind of cute, you know.
Yeah. No, but it's pretty scary to like go around the town and everybody's just like shaking with their face.
Oh my god. I really and maybe this isn't the full game. I don't know. In the demo, it was like it gave you like some archetypes and it's like pick a Mii, blah, blah, blah for this, and it lets you download like from popular ones too. Which I just thought was like the coolest thing. So like I don't know. I just try to make mine be like a fanfic RPG as much as possible. And
Right.
the worst crew characters.
Yeah. No, I think it's really cool, and it really makes me want to see a lot of the other like Wii U and 3DS era games get ported to the Switch. Like this really makes me want to see Tomodachi Life come to the Switch. You know, this really makes me want to see like Wii Sports and Wii Sports Resort like come to the Switch. You know, I think that like, you know, that them adding this game, which works really well. You know what I mean? Even without Mii's being the forefront of the system, you know, like when you would turn on the Wii U, like you'd be greeted by 100 Miis, you know, and they're just like running around on the screen, right? Like that's not the case. Like you turn this on, it's just squares, right? Yeah. But it's like, but still, like having Mario 10 or Mario Golf, which has the integration, really makes me kind of hopeful that they will bring back some of these other games that were really charming and had a lot of that like Nintendo charm, which I think is like kind of the one thing that's sort of missing from the Switch right now. Is like, you know, people talk about how they want like themes and like folders and stuff like that. But I think what they really want is the charm and the customization. And like, that's what Mii's are, is like the ultimate customization, like for a system. Right. And so, yeah, I just really hope that this is a sign of things to come.
Yeah. Well, that leads us into the future of Mii's, right? Like you said, it does feel with these two games, the Mario Golf and Miitopia, like they're trying to bring back Mii's, and they've updated the Mii creation tools a little bit too, which is kind of interesting. Do y'all think that will get integrated into the base Switch? Do you think that they are trying to bring back some of these old games or some future Mii games, or is this just Nintendo doing a thing in this moment? You know,
that's interesting. I guess I'm not as familiar with how Miitopia works, but like if you make a like deluxe Mii or whatever with the hairstyles and the makeup, can you then save that to your Switch console and then have that Mii outside of Miitopia, or does it only work within the game?
Yeah, I think it only works within the game. I'm not an expert on that. My son only has so much patience for making a Mii. Mm-hmm. You know, he'll be like, that's fine, and ready to play, you know, when I'm like, no, but the eyes need to be spaced out a little more, you know? And so I haven't really gotten into the wigs and makeup because he has zero patience for that. Right. But I do think you're correct that I don't think the import is one way. You can import Mii's from your Switch into Miitopia, and then you can go to the wigs and makeup section, which is like a separate little section.
I think that's ultimately okay. I think it's probably for the best to keep that to Miitopia, because again, it's like if you start adding in like too much stuff, like we've talked about, like Mii's flourish with the simplicity, right? It's like if you add too much stuff, it can get like overwhelming, I suppose.
Yeah, and some of the stuff you see that people have used with the makeup tool no longer exactly resembles a Mii.
Right.
And maybe that's fine, and maybe that is fine for a way to go forward, but it starts to look
There's me in Miitopia, by the way.
It does start to look more like a different kind of character creation tool when people are making uber realistic Sonics or whatever, you know. Like
yeah.
I mean, because I saw a bunch of people like online and everything posting like weird, elaborate things. The weirdest thing that I noticed, and maybe this has been around since 2017, a bunch of people really like making the Mona Lisa Mii.
Mm-hmm.
That was like
on the face.
Yeah, and it's very well done, but it's just kind of weird to me, like how many people, like I was scrolling down, it's like at least 20 different, like here's Mona Lisa, here's Mona Lisa. It's like, all right, I guess
I'll take that to a bunch of Hitlers, which is what it was in the Wii era. It was just like nothing but Hitlers.
Yeah, we didn't really talk about the dark side of this, which is the like creepy looking Miis and the like Hitlers and stuff like that, the uncomfortable. Matthew, you like this, don't you? This is probably maybe not the Hitler, but like the creepy looking memes.
Don't you fucking
Maybe.
If there's anything I know about
fucking
Matt,
dare.
it's that he loves Hitler.
Don't set that trap. Don't set it.
No, I didn't mean that. I just meant that, like, in the same sort of general, like this sort of uncomfortableness. That
I love
people
that.
Like to do. Yeah.
It's like it's taken stupid shit that I can already do and do way more stupid shit. Like my profile picture on my Switch is a face upside down. And my character in Miitopia, his name is Upside Down. Like I like all that stupid stuff and like the kind of the uncanny things that you can make in Miis or in Miitopia. Like, yeah, I perfectly see I'll have a future adventure partner and it'll be Garfield. It's great.
I did see a few Garfields and they looked pretty good.
Yeah.
Well,
I think just I'd love to see more base level Mii integration into games. You know what I mean? Like I think Mario Kart 8 just like does it amazingly. Like when you play that game online, you just see all the people you're playing with like running out onto the globe. And like when you see like a weird fucking Mii, it just like totally catches you off guard and makes you laugh, right? And like it makes you want to like click on that person and like maybe even like friend that person, you know? Like I made a lot of friends through Miiverse in that way, just by like them having really strange Miis and then like going to their page and being like, oh, all their posts are hilarious and they're making these really funny pictures and whatever. So I'd just love to see more of like, hey, this is your profile and this is like how you are represented in the game, right? Like not necessarily like, oh, I'm playing as this character, but more just like, this is the representation of my file or whatever, right? Also, while we're talking about just like what they could do in the future or what they could have done, something that I always thought was a really big missed opportunity was that Nintendo never went down the road of making custom amiibos based on your Miis, right? Like, I feel like that would not have been too hard. Like, obviously, it would have been more expensive than a regular amiibo because it's like bespoke. But it's like if there's a set number of combinations of what you could do anyway, theoretically, you could like print these things, right? And I think it would have been really cool to be able to order like a custom amiibo of yourself, you know, and like have as a little figurine like in your house. So that's something I always wish they would have done, but that's kind of just a dream I've always had.
Well, no, and that got, I was thinking the same thing. I was playing and then I was like, I don't think there's any Mii amiibos. Like I couldn't think of any. And I was like, yeah, like I would totally buy, I guess, little Miis. I mean, David, I'd buy yours, honestly.
Hell
Like-
yeah. Hell yeah. I think
Yeah, that's
all of our
true,
listeners
right?
would.
Yeah,
There are the Smash Mii amiibos, but those are obviously like
Right.
three very generic.
Yeah. It's like
white
the most
people or
generic
whatever.
faces you can
Yeah.
have. Yeah.
if we get to 2,500 YouTube subscribers, I will 3D print David amiibos for the entire Switch Headz
Wow.
community.
That's a lot.
All right. Well,
That's a lot of money.
We've been talking about Mii's for a while, but you know, who knows what Nintendo's going to do? Any other, you know, either something we kind of glossed over that you want to mention before we move
I mean,
on, or any
I was
other
just gonna
hope
say
for the
that-
future?
David's point there, this is what, you know, Halo 5 did when it released as Microsoft. You could take your Spartan and you could pay, it was like, I don't know, like 80 or 90 bucks, and they could recreate your Spartan and all the colors and all the designs and your gamer tag and send you a 3D print of your Spartan.
Yeah.
And like that's what I did for my Halo crew for one of them's one of their birthday parties. Like we just like all chipped in, bought it for them, and it surprised them as a gift. It would totally
Yeah.
make sense
Nice.
to make.
I think a lot of people would do
to
it
me,
if
agreed.
Nintendo made that option. I think it would actually, I think it would be worth the like, you know, production cost. And again, this is something that Microsoft does with like controllers, right? Where it's like you can really customize the controller that you want to make, and they just have a bunch of shit on an assembly line and they can put it together. I understand it really doesn't make sense to do.
We
this
have
if you're
the
talking about mass
technology.
producing stuff, but it's like, but if you make the price high enough, man, you
Yeah.
can do it. If you're listening and you're an Etsy person, maybe consider making this.
I guess it's more of an amiibo feature. But one last thing I was trying to remember was when Smash 4 came out, my friends and I got obsessed with training our amiibos.
Mm.
And the thing there is basically like you set your amiibo as a computer, and eventually like it kind of learns and can level up.
Right.
I think that would be really cool if they could somehow integrate something similar in like other games, like your own little AI thing, and your friend could just kind of like play against you, like a ghost in Mario Kart kind of thing.
Right.
Yeah, like training Miis kind of similarly, you're saying? Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. I think I know one person who would definitely do that, and that's Ant Keeps Gaming.
Be training his Miis.
That's an Ant Keeps Gaming thing. But yeah, I definitely do think, though, it's like, I think that Nintendo is leaving a bunch of fucking money on the table by not re-releasing Wii Sports and calling it Mii Sports. I think like you can release it on the Switch, call it Mii Sports. It's exactly the same. You just flip the W upside down and that's it. And you release it and it would sell so many copies, especially if you packaged it with Wii Sports Resort or the add-ons that they did for the Wii U, with Wii Sports Club. Like if they added those games into it, like ride the train right now. Like they're really doing a big marketing push for Miitomo right now Miitopia,
right?
Because I think they are trying to test the waters and see like, hey, we've got an exercise game. Hey, we've got like these casual games that people didn't have before with like, they're dipping their toes back into the blue ocean strategy, right? And that's like where the Miis really flourish. So I hope that these take off, and I hope that they do go back into this, because if the Switch is nothing else, it's a receptacle for all of gaming history. Just like put every game from every system on the Switch, like from the past, and it just works and it sells.
Okay, what if we get Wii Sports, but Wii Sports Tennis is locked behind a Loftwing and Mii Amiibo?
No, the custom Mii Amiibo.
It's locked behind the Andre Agassi Amiibo, which you can only buy during Wimbledon.
And there are only 100 of them. Yeah,
exactly.
And it's only Andre Agassi, and that's it. No other tennis players.
Anyway,
that's good.
And then I just have to say, bring back Miiverse. That's it. I'll die on that hill.
I missed out on that, and that's a big regret of not owning a Wii U for sure.
Yeah, Miiverse is awesome.
All right, well, let us know what you think about Miis. Are they coming back, listener? Do you think David's right and Mii Sports is going to be announced at E3? Let us know.
I fucking hope so.
But we're going to take another brief break, and when we come back, we're going to be talking about all the video games that we've been playing recently. I have been playing Miitopia a lot, actually, with my son. But we talked a lot about Miitopia and what that's like already, so I won't bother you too much. Other than that, I'm trying to think. I've been playing Monster Hunter Rise. Been playing Famicom Detective Club. I've talked about those games a lot, so I don't think I've been playing anything too new. Yeah, so I guess that's been me. Mostly Miitopia is the newest thing I've been playing.
Very cool. Yeah, I'll go next because I'm pretty similar to you. I haven't been playing too many new games. Excuse me. I've been like, I actually like went out last weekend and like I like bar hopped for the first time in like almost 2 years, which is why I feel a little sick this episode now. I don't have COVID. Don't worry. I'm vaccinated. But like, so it's like I've actually been like kind of doing things, and I've been watching a show too. I've been watching *Halt and Catch Fire*, which is a really good show. I really recommend it if you're into like 80s PC culture. But of the games that I have been playing, I've been dipping quite a bit back into Mario Galaxy again on the 3D All Stars. I kind of didn't play it that much. I was playing a lot of 64 and Sunshine, but now I'm getting way back into Galaxy. That game is just so fucking good. And very much looking forward to getting further into that. I've been playing some of Castlevania Bloodlines also in the Castlevania collection, with the show having come out a couple weeks ago now, just kind of reinvigorated my want to play some of those old games. So I've been doing some of that on the Switch and then some of the GBA games on my emulator. And then, other than that, also have been playing a little bit more Famicom Detective Club. And the only other thing that I did was I streamed some of Wave Race Blue Storm on my Twitch channel the other day. I think one person watched. Not a super popular game on Twitch, turns out. The GameCube Wave Race game. But man, that game is really good. Yeah, it really holds up. It's like Wave Race is like such a unique racing game just because like the waves really fucking like toss you everywhere. And it's like, and the thing that's really fun about that game is like the wake from the other racers really affects your performance, right? And so like, unlike a lot of other racing games where really the main thing that you deal with other players is like drafting behind them to get extra speed, like going behind somebody can really fuck you up because all of a sudden you're like bouncing like a motherfucker in their wake. And so that's something that you just don't really see in racing games much since, it was really big on the N64 as well on that Wave Race game. So I just think it's time, man. I think Nintendo, it's time to bring back Wave Race. I'd love to see a new addition to that series. Although if I had to pick between Wave Race and F-Zero, I'd probably say please bring back F-Zero first, but do both. Why not? Have a big race. It's a racing game summer. We're all vaccinated. Let's get them both out there. That's what I've been playing. Matt, what about you, man?
I mean, Nintendo's missing a huge opportunity to call it Wave Race Motorcycle Edition.
Yeah, I agree. Motorcycles of the Sea.
Love it. I've been playing Miitopia. So much fun. We didn't talk about this in the main episode, but did y'all give a custom name to the Dark Lord?
Yes.
Oh, I think I just named him after one of the Miis on my system.
I should have. I got lazy and basically I made my Dark Lord the Undertaker because
that's cool.
I was all right, wrestling. Let's do it too.
My son named our Dark Lord Nobody. So it's actually pretty funny every time. It's like Dark Lord Nobody.
Nice. Mine was fitting for the story too.
mine is Nippon Yoshimura, which is also my character's name in Famicom Detective Club. But Nippon Yoshimura is a fake Japanese man that I made up to access the Japanese eShop on my Switch. Yeah,
that's nice. I named mine Satan. I felt it was appropriate. I've been playing Miitopia. It's been super fun. Got back into Apex. Played that for a little bit. And they got a new arena mode that's more deathmatch and less battle royale. That's been matches are much quicker and less frustrating. So I'm feeling positive about my Apex experience.
Nice.
Very good.
Jay, how about you? What have you been playing?
Oh boy, I haven't stopped playing Monster Hunter. Can't stop. I don't want to. It's really, I'm just very slow getting my rank up, and now I think I'm finally able to like join in with other people, so that's fun. Pokemon Snap. I just started. I'm only like an hour in. Famicom Detective Club over the weekend.
Which one did you get?
I went with whatever the original. The missing first one is, not chronologically.
That's the one Patrick and I have been playing as well.
Yeah. And immediately, it's so great. It's just like instant Phoenix Wright vibes. So I'm in.
Mm-hmm. Really good music in that game too.
Yeah, I love the Nintendo and the orchestra. It's so good.
Yeah. There's some. I can't remember if it's the detective agency or somewhere where whenever we go. I've been playing it with my wife. Whenever we go back there, I'm like,
it's the
the music's just really good, and that happened to me too. Like I had to do some errands the other day, so it's like I'm just gonna leave this.
It's really inspirational.
It's so good. No, other than that, we'll see where this goes. But like over the weekend, I was just like I caved and I started Final Fantasy 14. So
wow,
we'll see what happens,
dude. Final Fantasy 14 is kind of like. It's like a renaissance period right now. I think a lot of people are getting back into it.
My coworkers wouldn't stop talking about it, just like random friends online. Same. And I was like,
a lot of my coworkers are playing it too.
Yeah. So
what's the fun so far. The expansion that just came out? What's that called?
Oh, man, I should know what I don't. I know what you're talking about.
Endwalker. Something like that. Anyways,
that sounds right. I have no idea what it does though. Like it's just like it's also pretty much my first MMORPG, I think. So could end terribly.
Yeah, we'll see what happens. We'll see if you're still around to do the wrestling.
Let's see if I still have a job, if I'm in the next show. Yeah, exactly.
Very
awesome.
Good.
Well, then, thank you so much, Jay, for coming on. Sorry it took us this long to get you on. I'm glad to have you here.
No, glad to be here. Thanks.
We're so sorry,
Jay. Please forgive us. Please find it in your heart of hearts.
We'll see.
I think this is a total aside, but it's just, we're in a wonderful place where we have lots of great guests to draw on, and so it's hard to make those decisions.
Good problem to have. Yeah.
Yes, good problem to have. Thank you to MilkyWay.co, who does our website. Thanks to Corduroy, who does our music. If you're looking for me, Patrick online, I am PDYX.
Hey, I'm Matthew on Twitter, MATHYOU.
I'm pretty much everywhere on the internet at Monolith Fiji. And what about you, Jay? Where can people find you?
Oh man, I should have probably gotten this before the episode, huh? I don't even remember my Twitter thing. We can just put it in I'll remind people later. I think it's probably like Jimbo Soup on Twitter. It's not
cool.
Yeah.
Very good. He's on the Discord, very active on the Discord, so make sure you join that. And then give a little plug for PWR. You guys have any events coming up? Do you know when you guys are coming back?
I don't personally. Obviously we didn't do any show. We haven't done a show since December 2019.
Mm-hmm.
Nothing is set right now. Me personally, things are, again, let me clarify. It's just me. I'm hoping we can have a show by this year. It's looking good, but total guess at this point. So we'll see.
Yeah, I'm hoping so too, man. Part of World Wrestling brings me a lot of joy. I can't wait to see you guys back in the ring. Yeah,
no, thank you, man. I'm glad, and I obviously don't see us going back to full capacity immediately.
Right?
Even just having 20 people there or something is gonna feel great.
Oh, dude! Even back before the pandemic, I was like, I'm gonna get sick just standing in this crowd.
It's happened, yeah. And that's man. We were supposed to have our show the week COVID got bad, and then we kind of realized, our show is a breeding ground for this kind of thing. Let's not do it. Yeah,
it was probably for the best.
It was a good call. It was
yeah. Well, anyway, commiserating about COVID aside, if you'd like to find our show on social media, we are at Super Switch Headz on Instagram and Facebook. We are at Switch Headz on Twitter. Not on TikTok, not yet. I doubt we will be. I don't know. Anybody want to make a Switch Headz TikTok?
Let's do it.
Let us know. If you're listening to this and you really want to make a Switch Headz TikTok, feel free. And then if you'd like to follow our Discord group or our Facebook group, both of which are bustling communities where you can interact with us on a pretty much daily basis, and both act as kind of message boards, chat rooms, forums for our show. So make sure you join both of those. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you again one more time for listening to this episode on Miis, the history of Miis. Miis are back, baby. Miis aren't going anywhere anytime soon, at least if I have anything to say about it. We'll keep preaching the Mii, preaching to the Mii choir for as long as possible. But we'll be back next week with a very special episode. We've got a very good one with a good guest, but I'm not going to tell you what it is because, boy, howdy, every time I do, it falls apart. Other than that, folks, stay real out there. Wash your hands. Wear a mask if you want to, especially if you're not vaccinated. But get vaccinated. I'm not going to do this anymore. I think, you know what? We're getting to a point where we're fucking opening up, baby. And if at this point you're not vaccinated, that shit's on you. We love you guys very much. We'll see you next week. Bye-bye.